tire, Richard. This thing's tore up, brother. Get him a tire, boys. Get this man a tire. How you doing, boss?
I can't hear.
How you doing?
Good, I can't hear you. It's
good.
fun, man.
You're killing it out there.
The man who built one of racing's biggest teams crashed hard at Stafford Motor Speedway during Cleetus McFarland's New England 900. He got back in line and finished anyway. What he did next, and why this exact track meant everything, has NASCAR fans talking. Richard Childress is not supposed to be racing. He is 80 years old. He is one of the most powerful men in NASCAR, a Hall of Fame team owner who built Richard Childress Racing from nothing. But on a Friday night at Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut, he strapped into a black Ford Crown Victoria with the number 3 on the door and did something nobody expected. He went back to the same track where his racing story began, 57 years earlier. This was not a normal NASCAR race. It was the New England 900, an event built by YouTube star Cleetus McFarland, whose real name is Garrett Mitchell. The race puts NASCAR drivers, drifting stars, and online racing personalities in identical nitrous-powered Crown Victorias. It sells out every single year, and this time the biggest name on the entry list was not a current driver at all. It was Richard Childress. To understand why this moment mattered so much, you have to go back to who Childress was before he became a legend. Long before he owned 6 championship teams, before Dale Earnhardt ever drove his number 3 car, Richard Childress was just a broke kid from Winston-Salem trying to make it as a driver. He got his first shot in 1969 when a driver boycott at Talladega Speedway left NASCAR scrambling for replacement drivers. Childress jumped in. He finished 23rd. It was not glamorous, but it was the start of everything. For the next several years, Childress raced as an independent, which meant he did almost everything himself. He drove the car. He worked on the engine. He hauled his own equipment. He once said the team had no real money, just an old 1954 Ford truck to pull the race car behind. He slept in that truck between races. That grinding, hard-luck version of Richard Childress is the one who first raced at Stafford Motor Speedway. Back in 1969, he never won a race as a driver, not once. Across 285 Cup Series starts between 1969 and 1981, he picked up 76 top 10 finishes but 0 wins. His best points finish was 5th place back in 1975. Then in 1981, he made one of the biggest decisions in NASCAR history. He got out of the car himself and gave his seat to a young driver named Dale Earnhardt. That choice changed everything. Earnhardt and Childress went on to win 6 championships together, one of the greatest driver and owner partnerships the sport has ever seen. Childress built his shop into Richard Childress Racing, an organization that has since won titles across the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Truck Series. He was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2017. When Earnhardt was killed on the final lap of the 2001 Daytona 500, it was Childress who carried that legacy forward, keeping the number 3 alive in NASCAR's memory for years afterward. But somewhere in all that success, the driver in him never fully disappeared. That is where Cleetus McFarland comes in. Earlier this year, McFarland signed a developmental deal to drive part-time for Richard Childress Racing, an introduction made by Childress's own grandson, Dillon. The two built a relationship, and when McFarland put together this year's New England 900, he invited Childress to come race it himself. Childress did not hesitate. I talked to Cleetus, and when he asked me to do it, I said, "Yeah, I'll go," Childress said. "I thought it'd just be fun." Simple as that. A NASCAR Hall of Famer, 80 years old, agreeing to strap back into a race car because a YouTuber asked him to. News of the entry spread fast through the NASCAR world. Preece, the Connecticut native and current Cup Series driver, could not resist a joke about it. Preece brought up one of the most famous moments in Childress's history, the 2011 incident when Childress, furious after a Truck Series race at Kansas Speedway, handed his watch to his grandson Austin Dillon and went after Kyle Busch. "Yeah, so I already told him to hold my watch," Preece joked, flipping the old story on its head. It was a nod to the fact that Childress, even at 80, still had that same fire. Friday night arrived, and Stafford Motor Speedway was packed. The field was stacked. Cup Series names like Preece and Dillon lined up next to drifting legend Vaughn Gittin Jr., Dale Earnhardt's grandson Bobby Earnhardt, and Cleetus McFarland himself. Before the race even started, Bobby Earnhardt posted online about what the night meant to him, saying he never imagined racing against Richard Childress and Dillon at the same time. It was a small moment, but it showed just how much history was sitting in that lineup. Then the race began, and it lived up to every bit of hype. The lead changed hands over and over. Drivers battled 3 wide for position. Caution flags kept flying. And through it all, there was Richard Childress, back in a race car for the first time since a Legends exhibition in 1995, running his own race in the middle of the pack. Then came lap 62. Racing in turn 2, Childress lost the back end of his Crown Victoria. The car spun and slammed into the wall. The caution flag flew. For a moment, it looked like the story might end right there, with an 80-year-old legend limping to the garage after one hard hit. It did not end there. Childress got the car restarted. He rejoined the field, and he kept racing all the way to the checkered flag. He crossed the line in 10th place out of a full field of NASCAR stars and internet racers half his age. For a man who had not turned a competitive lap in 3 decades, finishing 10th after a wall hit was nothing short of remarkable. While Childress was fighting through his own night, the race around him was falling apart in the best way possible. Cleetus McFarland spent the closing laps locked in a fierce battle with Preece for the lead, the 2 men trading the front spot back and forth in front of a sold-out crowd. Then contact between them sent McFarland's car straight into the wall, ending his shot at winning the event he built himself. Under the caution that followed, the 2 kept going at it on track, bumping and jostling for position even under yellow, and Preece ended up with a flat tire out of the exchange. The chaos triggered by their battle led to a multi-car peel-up once the race went back to green. With the laps winding down, a driver named Zack Walker, who had started at the very back of the field, was quietly working his way forward. On the final lap, contact between Dillon and Preece coming out of turn 2 opened the door, and Walker shot through it. He crossed the finish line first. Preece held on for second. Not because he won, he did not. He came in 10th, but because of what that 10th place finish actually meant. This was a man who first raced at Stafford Motor Speedway in 1969, broke, unknown, hauling his car behind an old truck. 57 years later, he came back to that same track as a Hall of Famer. Richard Childress did not need to prove anything to anyone. His legacy was already set in stone long before Friday night. He built one of NASCAR's greatest organizations. Preece said it best after the race. He talked about how different the night felt compared to a normal NASCAR weekend, no pressure, no stakes, just racers being racers. And that is exactly why this moment hit so hard. He was not out there fighting for a trophy or a paycheck. 57 years after his first lap at Stafford, an 80-year-old man hit a wall, got back in line, and finished the race anyway. Some people just never stop being racers.